G'day everyone, Saxon here. So I'm in Zimbabwe at the moment at the Africa Centre for Holistic Management. I'm on the railway at the moment because I was headed that way to go have a bo peep at a certain section of land that I wanted to have a look at. And I'm on the railroad at the moment, and if you keep going that way, eventually you get to Cairo, and if you go that way, you eventually get to Cape Town. So this is the highway. Now, I was walking along and I noticed that there was a little bit of a difference in the vegetation on one side as opposed to the other side of the track, and it got me wondering, what were the management tools that were used to make that change in the environment occur? So I had a look around, I had a bo peep, and I think I figured it out. And I'd like to work through the understanding and work through the observations about how I came to the conclusion of what tools were used on which side. So we're going to start on one side, which is this one over here, which I suspect had a fire come through, and then this one over this side, which is a combination of planned grazing in parts and overrest in others. And so we can have a look at that now. So we'll go down onto the suspected fire side. We'll have a look at what the land is telling us. So let's have a look. So it's all nice and green because we're in the growing season right now. This is November 2022. Oh, correction, sorry, it's December 2022. My God, this year's gone fast. Now, why do I think there's been a fire come through? Well, a few reasons. All the perennial grasses have ash around them, have looked like they've been burnt, so I'm Captain Obvious. The trees over here have scar heights where you can see. All the leaves have been burned off, and generally the environment is not functioning as well on this side as it is on the other. Now, why do I say that? Well, these perennials here, where you can see these ones, are not as productive here as they are on the other side, and we'll have a look at them in a bit. So I'm not sure what this fella is, but he seems to be a main perennial I see around the place. Another reason I say that a fire has come through, and a hot one at that, and we'll get into the differences between cool fire or regenerative fire and hot fires. So I'm not sure if this one was purposefully lit or if it was out of control or what have you, but you can see on the ground the plant spacings are quite wide. There is not as many perennials here, which suggests to me that a lot of them have been burnt out. We can also see an increase in forbs, and so like I've said before, a forb is anything with a taproot and anything that isn't a monocot. So what's a monocot? A monocot is a grass, and a dicot is a forb, which means when a monocot, which is a grass, comes up, it throws one leaf. Okay, if you notice a dicot, which is two leaves, so if you plant, you know, beetroots or carrots or anything like that, it'll throw two leaves up first, but if you see grass seeds, they'll throw one up. So if we have a look here, we can see all these different forbs coming up. We've got this fella here, we've got this legume here with these nice purple flowers, and we can tell it's a legume because it has these three leaves and one offset in the middle, and it's quite abundant. And if you keep looking, you can keep seeing just how much bare ground there is. There's a lot of annual grasses that have just come up because it's that time of year where all the annuals start to spring up. Here's another legume. So remember, three leaves with one offset in the middle. So if I see an abundance of forbs and an abundance of legumes, that means that that environment is in a lower state of succession. That coupled with the bare ground. So that combined with the scars, the burning of the leaves, bare ground, forbs, and abundance of legumes, I think that the management tool of fire has been used or has been accidentally used, depending on what happened. So we can see the environment's trying to repair itself because these legumes are coming up on bare ground, and they're going to fix nitrogen in the soil, help all the grasses come through, and the environment is in a state of repair, as we can see right here. Okay, let's go to the other side. There you can see it. Now on this side, I believe a combination of overrest and planned grazing. I say that because very close to the tracks, it is overrested, but just a little bit back, it is planned grazing. Now, let's have a look. So, if you can see just here, we see all these perennial grass plants with last year's growing season leaves and stems on top. Right, now we can see behind there, that's not the case. We can see lush, thick, growing grass with close plant spacings, mulched down litter covering bare ground, so we don't have as many forbs here. Okay, but what we do have coming up, if we scrape them away, are these little grasses. So one of the benefits of having mulch on your soil, or having last year's growth pushed onto the soil, is that monocots, because they have one leaf, find it easier to push up through mulch than those with two leaves. So you're more likely to get grass when you mulch the soil than when you don't. We do have a few forbs here in this rocky section, but generally you can see that these perennials are far more vibrant, far more productive, and far more abundant. It's amazing just how from one side of a railroad track compared to the other is so different. And you can see just up there just how much is left over from last year's growth up here. Now, I'm pretty sure the herders have not allowed the cattle to come too close to the track, which I wouldn't either, just in case there's a train coming. Plus, it just makes it a lot easier to break up the landscape by staying on one side of the track instead of the other. So there's no problem in keeping them not too close to the tracks. We do have a few legumes, which is not bad, but I've noticed the legumes are also closer to here, where these perennials are overrested. Increases in forbs is also a sign of overrest, because when you overrest an environment, it switches back to reverting into a wooded species environment. One more look at the side where fire was used, and you can see just the bulk over this side as compared to the other. There's a lot less on this side. Anyway, that was my thoughts for the day. See yous.